Exclusive contract from Feilu Novel Network Novel. Rebirth. Becoming a world tycoon from Hong Kong Island Rebirth 1978. This is a great era. I conquered Jiehu Li Jiacheng.Hammer out British capital. The four major foreign firms are crawling for me. Unconsciously, Chaosheng realized that he was already the king of Xiangjiang and a world-class tycoon. Four major families. What are the four major families? I am the only family in Xiangjiang, and that is the Hong family, Hong Chaosheng. Feilu Novel Network reminds you that this novel and its characters are purely fictional. If there are any similarities, they are purely coincidental and should not be imitated. 1. You are listening at novel full.audio. 1. Feilu's novel, Fei wants you to look good. Listing remarks. You are listening at novel full.audio. Please find attached this commitment letter. Adhere to originality and eliminate non-compliant commitment letters. I, the big plane, guarantee that the signed work belongs to my own original creation, and strictly follow the Feilu writer's convention in the creative process, adhere to originality, and eliminate the following violations. If there are any violations, I am willing to bear all the consequences caused by this one. Ensure that the signed work belongs to one's own original work and does not involve plagiarism or plot plagiarism in Chinese translation. 2. Ensure that no third-party works or plot are plagiarized during the creative process. 3. Ensure that this work is first published and the only contracted website on Feilu Novel Network. 3. Ensure compliance with laws and regulations during the creative process, including but not limited to, violations such as not involving politics, not involving pornography, gambling, drugs, promoting cults, not ghostwriting, not blocking or abolishing manuscripts, not hosting, not selling works or accounts, etc. 4. Ensure that regardless of the word count of the work, the signed work must complete the plot, never end, and never stop. 3 things to do when reading. Read, collect, and reward. Chapter 0001. Rebirth of Xiangjiang. You are listening at novel full.audio. In 1978, Xiangjiang, my head hurt so much. Hong Chaosheng suddenly opened his eyes. Everything in front of me was very unfamiliar, with a dilapidated ceiling and a strange smell still permeating the air, as if it was a mixed smell emanating from a group of people living together. Who? Hong Chaosheng sat up fiercely and realized that it was not his own illusion, but rather that many people were really living in this small space. This should be a dormitory that can accommodate 8 people, but after renovation, 7 beds were added, and each bed can accommodate at least 4 people. At least 20.8 people can stay. Damn it! Hong Chaosheng instinctively touched his waist. Fortunately, it's still there. I almost thought that I had been sold to a Cambodian mansion and had been beaten up. What happened yesterday? Hong Chaosheng crawled out of bed and found that his hands and feet were not bound. He couldn't help but let out a slight sigh of relief. It seemed that he didn't seem to have been kidnapped. I walked out of the room and looked around. Worn down. It's like a style from the 1980s and 1990s. Facing the sun, Hong Chaosheng squinted his eyes slightly, took a few breaths, and suddenly realized that his palms were so clean and fair. Do you seem to have become younger? I still remember drinking a lot last night, and then someone directly sent a pair of twins to their own bed. To be honest, although they were older in their past lives, these twins were really rare. And then was he reborn on his own? Hong Chaosheng looked at the world in front of him with some confusion, and countless memories flooded into his mind. Now it's 1978, Xiangjiang. Brother. At this moment, a voice suddenly came through, and Hong Chaosheng followed it to look towards the source of the sound. Then, he saw a young man walking quickly towards him. This person Hong Chaosheng knows him, this is his younger brother Hong Chaowen. Brother, are you okay? Hong Chaowen looked at his older brother with a surprised expression on his face. Yesterday, you really scared me to death. You shed a lot of blood. It's okay. Hong Chaosheng touched his lower abdomen, but in his mind, he remembered that he had indeed been stabbed in the abdomen last night and was bleeding profusely on the spot. He smiled and said, "The wound has completely healed, it's not a big deal." Hong Chaoen finally breathed a sigh of relief and said, "You're okay, that would be great." As he spoke, Hong Chaoen said, "By the way, brother, we need to move to a different place. The factory director gave us 800 yuan, saying it's for your medical expenses. He asked them to leave quickly, afraid that the tide of volunteers will come and trouble us again." Hong Chaosheng nodded. The two brothers simply tidied up their things. And Hong Chaosheng also gradually accepted the memories of his former body owner. They secretly came to Xiangjiang from the mainland last year. They are 18 years old this year, while their younger brother Hong Chaoen is only 17 years old. They ran from the mainland to Xiangjiang to seek refuge with their relatives. However, after the two of them arrived in Xiangjiang, they found their old uncle Qin Kelly. The two brothers temporarily settled in Xiangjiang, and then Qin Kelly simply found a job for them. This is a textile factory, mainly engaged in some dirty and tiring work. It belongs to the lower class of society. However, there is no other way, as his uncle Qin Kelly is also at the bottom of society. However, both Hong Chaosheng and Hong Chaoen are relatively satisfied with this kind of life, at least they are wealthy and able to eat meat. Their younger brother still fell in love. As a result, 3 days later, my younger brother discovered that his romantic partner had been teased by a thug at a bar. In a fit of anger, Hong Chaoen directly took action against this group of thugs. Their Hong family can be traced back to their ancestors who were officials of Hongxi. Both of their brothers had studied Hong Quan, and Hong Chaosheng's Hong Quan level was average, only limited to health preservation and physical fitness. However, Hong Chaoen is different. When he was a child, Hong Chaoen grabbed the stone lock on the ground, which weighed a full kilogram. This kind of person is born with divine power. If we put it in ancient times, it would be like a tiger general who is not brave enough for 10,000 people. Naturally, my father also carefully cultivated it. By the age of 12, Hong Chaoen's strength was already incredible. At the age of 15, in the production team, it was like a few plowing cows. Last year when he was 16 years old, his own statement was that he had broken free from the limitations of Hong Quan, and his martial arts were at his disposal, reaching a very high level. In the same year, when his father passed away, the two brothers heard people describe Hong Kong City. Then, they jumped into the sea and came directly to Hong Kong City. Encountering thugs, how are these thugs Hong Chaoen's opponents? Hong Chaoen beat up several thugs on the spot, crying and calling them mother. However, later on, this group of thugs also directly attracted retaliation. They belonged to the Chaozhou volunteers of Heshanga and brought people to seek revenge last night. A few workers, along with Hong Chaosheng and the thugs, started fighting. In a panic, Hong Chaosheng was stabbed and shed a lot of blood, which led to his own journey. As for Hong Chaoen's little girlfriend, she just slapped her butt and left. Although these thugs have been driven away, it is obvious that this place is not a place to stay for a long time. Now Hong Chaoen is already trying to run away. After packing up some things, the two brothers quickly left the textile factory with their usual savings of 500 yuan and medical expenses of 800 yuan given by the factory director. Hongji Textile Factory, it's still our own textile factory. Hong Chaosheng also knew that for 800 yuan, he was afraid that the tide would come and cause trouble. Secondly, he was worried that he would really die in a textile factory and damage feng shui. The businessmen in Xiangjiang were still not as good as those in the mainland, and he was very superstitious about the system of ghosts and snakes. In this era, Xiangjiang did not have a manufacturing industry. In the 1960s and 1970s, it still took on a lot of manufacturing from island and eagle countries. However, after the rise of the mainland, these manufacturing industries basically shifted to the mainland. Hong Chaosheng suddenly became somewhat agitated. What kind of era is this? In the 1970s, in Xiangjiang, Chinese capital was gradually rising, and the mainland was also gradually rising. If one tightly grasps the tide of the times, their future can be said to be infinitely bright. Thinking about it this way, Hong Chaosheng is really a little excited. I pondered for a moment. This year, Li Jiacheng is about to launch the battle of acquiring Hutchison. If he can seize the opportunity to hold a portion of Hutchison's stocks, then in the most intense competition among them, he can completely charge exorbitant prices, and the first bucket of gold is already there. However, before Li Jiacheng moved and remembered, the first thing he did was to take action against Zhulongkang. Hong Chaosheng felt a bit difficult again. The two brothers had already saved up 500 yuan all over their bodies, including the 800 yuan medical expenses given to him by the factory director, 1,300 yuan. With just this little money, what's the point? The top priority is to find a way to quickly make money. 1,300 yuan is not easy to do, at least you need to have over 100,000 yuan in hand to get things done. 3 things to do when reading. Read, collect, and reward. Chapter 0002. Opportunities to get rich. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Hong Chaosheng was calculating the path to making money in his heart. How to quickly get the first bucket of gold. In an instant, countless thoughts emerged in Hong Chaosheng's heart. Copying books, comics, and scripts. However, I am only a little transparent now, and the other party definitely cannot give me a high price, especially since you are still from mainland China. Why should they look up to you? Xiangjiang, this is the paradise of capitalists, who wish to squeeze themselves to death. Even if it's done, does it take time? Several months have passed, and this money has really reached my hands, at most only a few thousand yuan. Compared to saving only 500 yuan for a year, a few thousand yuan is already a lot. However, Hong Chaosheng was not satisfied. Li Jiacheng acquired Zhulongkang and instead acquired Jardine Matheson, which is what happened this year. A few months later, even the yellow cauliflower cooled down. So for myself, there is only one fastest and most enjoyable way to earn money. Bet. Hong Chaosheng's thoughts suddenly began to heat up. In his past life, he had no bad habit of gambling, and at the gambling table, the banker would never lose money. But what if I knew the ending directly? Hong Chaosheng was calculating in his heart. The 1978 Argentina World Cup. Gambling. 100% must earn. There are many gambling companies, but there is only one World Cup, and they don't make money by chance. To put it 10,000 steps back, even if there is really some dark side involved. What does that have to do with oneself? Now that I only have 1,300 yuan in my hand, can I leverage the billions or even billions of dollars in the World Cup with this 1,300 yuan in my hand? Are you overestimating yourself too much? Calculate the time, it is now May 25th. June 1st marks the start of the group stage, this is a good time for myself. Xiangjiang cannot gamble on football, but it's okay, the gambling city can. However, we still need to find a place to settle down. Fighting. Uncle Chin Kelly frowned and looked at the brothers, then couldn't help but say, "Are you still a brave person from the tide?" "Uncle." Hong Chaosheng smiled bitterly and said, "It's all their trouble coming to me, and I have no choice. That's why I started to fight with people. They were the ones who flirted with my girlfriend first." Chin Kelly furrowed his brow and said, "They are Chaozhou volunteers. You have injured them all. They almost killed my brother." Hong Chaosheng couldn't help but say, "Uncle, can we stay here for a few days and leave in a few days?" "Okay." Chin Kelly spoke helplessly, "I have to tell you again, you two have come from the mainland, don't cause trouble." Hong Chaosheng immediately nodded and said, "Uncle, don't worry, I definitely won't cause trouble." Hong Chaosheng did not have any special rejection towards his uncle. His uncle's life was already average, but now he still lives in government public rental housing, which belongs to the lower class of society. It would be great to be able to do this step. The two brothers temporarily stayed with their uncle Qin Kelly's family. My aunt's name is Wang Meijian, and the two of them have a son named Qin Chao. He is still in junior high school this year, and the family also has to spend money. It's okay for the two brothers to come over occasionally, but long-term residence is definitely not possible. Uncle Qin Kelly works as an accountant in the company, earning less than 100 yuan a month. Wang Meijian, on the other hand, is a primary school teacher and has also saved a lot of money over the years. His biggest wish is to buy a house in Xiangjiang. Subsequently, Hong Chaoen began his daily journey of searching for jobs. Hong Chaosheng, on the other hand, reads newspapers every day to read as much valuable information as possible. He was not born again to work. 1,300 yuan. I also need to get a whole outfit to come out. At the very least, one should not feel like a beggar. 200 yuan, getting a suit is not a big problem, and then we'll take a boat to the casino. If we go there, 100 yuan is enough for two people. However, staying in a hotel there is also a problem. So, it's better to delay. The results of the World Cup are remembered by Hong Chaosheng. After his rebirth, Hong Chaosheng discovered that his memory seemed to have been greatly enhanced. Some of the materials and things he had seen in his past life, at this moment, seemed to be imprinted on his brain. Depart directly on May 31st. May 30th, brother. Hong Chaoen and Qin Kelly came to look for Hong Chaosheng and said, I have found a job. My uncle has arranged for us to go to the production team to do odd jobs and become a mass actor. Let's go together. Hong Chaosheng smiled noncommittally and spoke slowly, brother, uncle, I don't want to go. Qin Kelly and Hong Chaoen couldn't help but be stunned by their colleagues, while Hong Chaosheng smiled and said, I have a better way. Qin Kelly hesitated slightly and said, there is a better way. What way? Hong Chaosheng pointed to the newspaper and said with a smile, it's here in the casino. I see, the main job that attracts people here is as a translator. I understand English, so I want to go to the casino and take a look. Qin Kelly was taken aback and said, do you understand English? Understood. Hong Chaosheng smiled and said, I can still communicate proficiently with foreigners, chatting is not a problem. Qin Kelly still didn't believe it, while Hong Chaosheng took out an English newspaper and read it word for word. Qin Kelly couldn't understand it, but looking at the fluent appearance didn't seem like he was pretending, so he believed a bit in his heart. Uncle, during this time, I want to go to the gambling city and take my younger brother along. Putting down the English newspaper in his hand, Hong Chaosheng smiled and said. Am I with you too? Hong Chaoen couldn't help but take a moment for a moment. Hong Chaosheng nodded and said, I've called the casino these days and they said we're missing a bodyguard. I'm planning to take my younger brother over. Hong Chaoen became excited and said, brother, is this true? Hong Chaosheng just nodded, but he didn't say what he was doing in the gambling city. Qin Kelly still had his share, so it's not good to let him know. Ah Sheng, you must be careful not to be deceived. Qin Kelly couldn't help but frown. Our brothers are alone, without money or power. What are they deceiving us for? Hong Chaosheng smiled slightly and spoke calmly, Uncle, you can rest assured. Even if there is any problem, with my brother's strength, the problem is definitely not big. So, when are we going to the casino? Hong Chaosheng stretched his muscles and bones for a moment and said, tomorrow, today we will first buy an outfit. A few days ago, I ordered a suit, and it should be almost there now. The money earned by the two brothers is basically kept by Hong Chaosheng for safekeeping. How to spend it, Hong Chaosheng only needs to inform him. Subsequently, the two changed their outfits. In the evening, Wang Meijian rarely cooked meat and practiced it for her brothers. 3 things to do when reading. Read, collect, and reward. Chapter 0003. Gambling ball. You are listening at novel full.audio. What? Sitting on the cruise ship heading to the casino, Hong Chaoen widened his eyes and said, "Brother, aren't we going to work? Why do we have to work?" Hong Chaosheng asked in reverse. Hong Chao choked when he settled down, and for a moment, he didn't know what to say. "You're not here to work. So, what are we here for? Make money, stand out, make a lot of money, work for others. What can you achieve in your life? Audie, it's not easy for you to fall in love, and you can still be intercepted by someone. If you have money, he can still steal your girlfriend." Hong Chaosheng spoke calmly and said, "There's a chance in the gambling city, there's a chance to make big money." Hong Chaoen widened his eyes and couldn't help but ask, "What kind of opportunity is it to make big money?" "Then you'll know." Hong Chaosheng smiled, not saying he would go gambling. If his younger brother really came to stop him, he wouldn't be able to handle him. As the cruise ship slowly sailed, Hong Chaoen's thoughts gradually settled. For his brother, he basically doesn't question anything, and since he has done it, it makes sense. May 31st, Las Vegas. Get off the ship. Hong Chaosheng took out another 20 yuan and found a small hotel to stay in. Here in the gambling city, Hong Kong dollars are also in circulation, and a large number of Hong Kong people come to this gambling city every year to play. The environment of the hotel is average, and the sound insulation effect is very poor. However, compared to providing wind and rain protection, it is also very good. He actually wants to stay at the Grand Hotel Lisboa in the gambling city, but it is a 5-star hotel, and even if Hong Chaosheng wants to stay, he needs this money to do so. Hong Chaosheng took his younger brother to taste the delicious 8 Treasures braised duck from the gambling city. The main ingredients for this dish are duck, chestnuts, and salted egg yolks. When making this dish, the duck meat should be treated first, then the chestnut and salted egg yolk should be mixed in half, then the duck meat should be put into the pot with seasoning to stew, then taken out and fried in the oil pan, and finally a sauce should be poured on the duck to eat. The two brothers began to feast on it, but it was obvious that a small duck could not satisfy their appetite, especially Hong Chaoen, who was a martial arts practitioner and had a larger appetite. Subsequently, the two returned to the hotel to rest. Hong Chaoen sat cross-legged in silence and began breathing and breathing. This was his younger brother's usual way of rest, which he said could be used to strengthen his body. Hong Chaosheng also knew this breathing and breathing technique. However, it is almost impossible for someone like Hong Chaoen to persist for at most half an hour and treat it as sleep. Dawn, both of them changed into suits and then went straight to the Grand Lisboa Hotel in the gambling city. Nowadays, there are many businesses in gambling cities. Gambling is also one of its businesses, and the gambling city's commission is 5%, which is actually a very high proportion. However, it doesn't matter if it is high, which represents 2 words of safety. "Brother, what are we doing here?" At this moment, Hong Chaoen was a bit flustered. As he watched, Hong Chaosheng led himself into such a luxurious hotel, feeling a bit at a loss. Hong Chaosheng is not unfamiliar with this. Although he has never gambled in his past life, he has still stayed in a 5-star hotel. "Don't be nervous, come with me." As he walked, Hong Chaosheng was also reminiscing about the relevant details. There are a total of 16 teams from 5 continental football federations participating in this tournament. Except for the host team Argentina and defending champions West Germany, which automatically qualify for the competition, the remaining 14 teams qualify for the competition through preliminary competitions organized by each continental football federation. The competition will be held at 3 p.m., however, the new time in Beijing is 2 a.m. on June 2nd. Hong Chaosheng also arrived at the right time. "Two of you, what do you want to play with?" Seeing Hong Chaosheng and Hong Chaoen walking in, a waiter immediately walked up respectfully. Whether or not to say, the attitude of the waiter here was still very appropriate. "Play whatever you want." Hong Chaosheng took out 1,000 yuan in his pocket and said, prepare 1,000 yuan chip for me. I want to see the football. Please. The waiter quickly took the 1,000 Hong Kong dollars from Hong Chaosheng's hand, not too little, and immediately began to greet him. While introducing two people to the gambling area, he also thoughtfully brought the 1,000 Hong Kong dollar chips. Brother, you are. Hong Chaoen was stunned, but for a moment he didn't react, while Hong Chaosheng smiled and said, follow me. In a while, this 1,000 yuan will double. Hong Chaoen was stunned for a moment, looked around a few times, and suddenly came to his senses. Brother, are we at the casino? Hong Chaosheng nodded and said, yes. Are we gambling? Hong Chaoen asked again. Hong Chaosheng nodded again. Brother, you. Hong Chao became anxious as he settled down. Didn't our father say that gambling is absolutely not allowed? What are you doing? Get the money back quickly. Brother. Hong Chaosheng took a deep breath and looked at Hong Chaoen, saying, are you willing to be like this for a lifetime? What? Hong Chaosheng smiled and said nonchalantly, I mean, are you willing to work like this for a lifetime? I don't want to. Hong Chaoen shook his head and said, but, brother, we get this money for nothing. There's nothing like getting something for nothing, luck is also the way to make money. Hong Chaosheng smiled and said, just this time, listen to me, just this time, let's play this time. Whether you win or lose, we won't come in the future. Hong Chaoen opened his mouth and didn't know what to say for a moment. Alright, come with me. Hong Chaosheng smiled and played with the chips in his hand as he arrived at the gambling area, which was still divided into VIP rooms and other areas. Betting on the ball. 1 is the outcome. Let's bet on the score. The first match was between West Germany and Bologna, and the final result was 0.0, that is to say, the final outcome will be a draw. Hong Chaosheng glanced at the odds, and the odds for a draw were 1.13. If he pressed down, the 1,000 yuan he had in his hand would directly turn into 13,000 yuan. Subsequently, Hong Chaosheng did not hesitate at all and directly bet all the chips in his hand on the draw. Once the results of the competition are out, they can stay directly at the Grand Hotel Lisboa in the casino tonight. The final is on June 25th, and they can definitely stay at this hotel for a month. To be honest, Hong Chaosheng really can't accept this kind of poor life. What kind of bullshit is content with poverty? It's all said by wealthy people to deceive ghosts. Feilu's novel, Fei Wants You to Look Good. Chapter 0004. Competition Results. You are listening at novelfull.audio. In the casino, there is still a dedicated TV set. It is also possible to broadcast the live broadcast of the competition to them. The opening ceremony was grand. However, the brothers Hong Chaosheng and Hong Chaoen really don't have this mindset. Although they know the result of the competition, Hong Chaosheng is not very sure whether the world has changed after crossing the country. Brother, what are we gambling on? At this moment, Hong Chaoen couldn't help but look at Hong Chaosheng with some nervousness. 0-0, draw. Hong Chaosheng smiled and said, alright, stop talking, let's watch the game. The odds are 1.13. At this moment, besides patiently waiting for time to pass, there is really no good way. The group stage adopts a point system, with a goal difference. West Germany and Big Bobo will ultimately advance. Today is just an appetizer, and the next few days will be the highlight. It starts at 2 o'clock in the morning. Although Hong Chaoen knows about football matches, he has never played football since childhood. At this moment, he can only stare at the TV in front of him, silently praying in his heart, don't score, don't score, don't score. Hong Chaosheng's heart was also silently praying. Never make any changes. As long as there is no change, then the trajectory of this world is no different from that of a previous life. The breathing of the two brothers began to become rapid, their eyes fixed on the screen in front of them, and the cheers and curses around them could no longer be heard. They were all focused on the game results on the TV. It's the last 5 minutes. As long as both sides are tied, their 1,000 yuan will become 13,000 yuan. It's over. Hong Chaoen jumped up all at once, with an extremely excited expression on his face. Draw, draw. The number of people gambling here is not a small number. Some are excited, and some are disheartened, feeling as if their entire body has been emptied. Hong Chaosheng couldn't help but clench his fist, and his entire body relaxed slightly. Winning. It seems that there is no deviation between history and one's own memory. After the gambling game ends, Hong Chaosheng did not hesitate at all and directly exchanged his chips for 13,000 yuan, of which 650 yuan was a commission from the casino. Subsequently, Hong Chaosheng directly checked in at the Grand Hotel Lisboa in the gambling city. The price for 2 people per day is not expensive, 200 yuan. It's not a presidential suite, and the current price is not 44 years later. This price is also extremely expensive in this era. 500 yuan was saved up by the 2 brothers for a year. A normal person's salary is only 20.30 yuan per month. Staying in a 5-star hotel for the first time. Hong Chaoen couldn't contain his inner excitement. He looked at Hong Chaosheng and said, "Brother, do we really make over 10,000 yuan?" Hong Chaosheng leaned against the bed and casually opened the magazine in his hand. On it were seductive women dressed in revealing clothes, stirring people's minds. In addition, there was a phone number and contact information on it. As long as they were willing, they would obediently come to their doorstep for service. Yellow gambling does not divide families. This type of casino definitely has this kind of service. However, for Hong Chaosheng, he really doesn't have this mindset right now. The most important thing now is to earn money. Once the money is in place, what kind of woman can't take the initiative is like playing with twins in his past life. "Brother, how did you know that it must have been a draw?" Hong Chaoen couldn't help but ask. "I looked very worried. There were several times when I thought the 1,000 yuan we earned would be gone. I guessed it." Hong Chaosheng smiled and said, "I evaluated their strength and made the right judgment. Brother, can we go back to Xiangjiang now?" Hong Chaoen said again, "This is over 10,000 yuan. We stay in this hotel for 200 yuan a night." Hong Chaosheng smiled and said, "I'm not here for just 10,000 yuan. I want more things." "How much do you want?" Hong Chaoen couldn't help but ask. "A lot, a lot." Hong Chaosheng smiled, but in his heart, he was calculating that if he wanted to make a big profit, he could leave the gambling city and go directly to Europe. The plates on this side of the gambling city were still a bit small. Mainly this group of people from Southeast Asia, as well as island people, come together and the plate won't be too big. If he goes to Europe, he is confident that he can directly turn his 1,000 yuan into more than 10 billion yuan. Europe's plate is bigger, and there are more people gambling on the ball. After all, this is the World Cup, a global frenzy that takes place every 4 years. However, in this way, the impact is still too great. At that time, I don't know how many people's attention I need to attract, and my every move will be watched by others. Having money, not enough strength, and not knowing how many people to target. It's better to let it go as soon as it's good. If you can get a few million, that's about it. However, one's own thoughts cannot be shared with Hong Chaoen. After all, knowing the outcome of the game is still too shocking. Speaking of which, Hong Chaosheng stretched his entire body and said, "All right, take a break. Let's have a good rest tomorrow, and there will be a competition coming up. We also need to keep our spirits up." Hong Chaoen looked at Hong Chaosheng and couldn't help but ask, "Brother, can we still continue to win?" "Cannot." Hong Chaosheng shook his head and said, "There is a certain outcome to victory or defeat. No one can guarantee that they will always win." Hong Chaoen still wanted to speak, but Hong Chaosheng waved his hand and said, "All right, don't say anything, just follow me honestly. I can come down and gamble, but you can't. I said it, let's gamble this time. So, what do we do after making money? Hong Chaoen asked. Make money, buy a house, buy a car, and that's all. Hong Chaosheng thought for a moment, then smiled and said, start your own company, make money on your own, and in the future, we also want to be good people. When the two brothers woke up, it was already 3 strokes of the sun. After enjoying a lunch at the hotel, Hong Chaosheng brought Hong Chaoen to HSBC Bank and opened a bank account with a bank card, depositing 5,000 yuan. The remaining 5,000 yuan will continue to be used as today's chips. Hong Chaosheng did not plan to make a big profit in one breath, but rather planned to make a living and earn several million. Therefore, there is no need to bet all at once, and this process should also have wins and losses, making oneself look as natural as possible. Feilu's novel, Fei Wants You to Look Good. Chapter 0005. 8 million and 30.2 million. You are listening at novelfull.audio. For Hong Chaoen, these past few days have been like a dream. He watched helplessly as Hong Chaosheng kept doubling the wealth in his hands. June 3, Hong Chaosheng continued to bet, and his 5,000 yuan in hand directly turned into 220,000 yuan. When he saw this, Hong Chaoen was already stunned. 220,000 yuan. What number is this? That's a number that Hong Chaoen couldn't even imagine. They can only earn 500 yuan by working in a year. From now on, they have only managed to turn 1,000 yuan into 220,000 yuan in just one day. How long does this have to be done? 500 yuan per year, 5,000 yuan per 10 years. It takes 50 years to earn 250,000 yuan. One night is almost equivalent to 50 years of income. But Hong Chaosheng remained calm and composed, depositing all 200,000 yuan into the bank and continuing to gamble on the ball with 20,000 yuan. As a successful businessman in his past life, Hong Chaosheng never gambled, and this thing was like a bottomless pit. In terms of his wealth in his past life, it is almost impossible to ruin his family's property by going to find chickens that are not the same day. It is highly likely that the money spent on chickens is not as fast as his own earning speed. Even if he willingly falls into the trap of playing fans, there is a great chance that he will not go bankrupt, but rather die first. But gambling on this thing only takes one night to ruin your fortune. Gambling can blur a boundary between a windfall and one's own labor income. Spending a windfall will not hurt at all, but if it's labor income, you need to weigh it carefully. Hong Chaosheng admitted that this thing is really addictive. Especially this kind of sensation that lasts for hundreds of thousands or millions of minutes is not an ordinary stimulus. However, Hong Chaosheng is still very clear that at his level, if it weren't for the cheat of the reborn, he would definitely not have played like this. Today the two brothers have already arrived at the VIP hall. This is already a living room that only wealthy people would come to play in, and the overall environment is much better than the outside world. On June 25, 1978, the World Cup final was held. The final will be held at the Argentine Monument Stadium. Hong Chaosheng held his wine glass and slowly savored the wine, his eyes fixed on the television in front of him, which was clearer than the ones outside. The result of the match was that Argentina defeated the Netherlands 3-1 and won the championship of that World Cup. This World Cup is the first time in the history of the Argentine team to win a championship. At this moment, there is already an extra deposit of over 5 million in Hong Chaosheng's bank account. After this competition, according to the commission, he can earn at least 3.32 million yuan in profit, which together amounts to 8.32 million yuan. In this way, one can even have their own startup funds. After having money, we will start a company. Then, there was the Battle of Zhulongkang between Li Jiacheng and Jardine Matheson, from which he could take advantage and make a profit of 8.32 million, which was definitely an astronomical figure in this era. Although not comparable to the giant crocodiles like Li Jiacheng and Bao Chuan Wang, they can also become a presence that no one can ignore, with the ability to control the game. In addition, during this period, Hong Chaosheng was not idle, but was trying to find a way to contact the mainland. My father Hong Kongyan served in the military and also had many comrades in arms. Hong Chaosheng was pondering whether he could bring a group of discharged soldiers from the mainland. Now, the two brothers are fighting in Xiangjiang, and they definitely need security forces around them. Although Hong Chaowen's own martial arts are good, he cannot rely on his own younger brother to go out and fight for everything. It would be best to arrange a group of people from the mainland to come to Xiang. These people are trustworthy, and in the future, whether it is the club that troubles them or anything else that troubles them, having this group of people can at least ensure their own safety. Xiangjiang is still developing the real estate industry here, but obviously, Xiangjiang's future lies here in the mainland. Although the prospects for real estate are good, for Hong Chaosheng, it is obvious that real estate is not a sustainable development direction. In terms of technology, we still need to go to the mainland. At this stage, the mainland has accumulated a lot of good things, and the gap with the world is not significant. However, the funds are not enough to support it anymore. If you give them some money and let them persist, the future will still be in your own hands. Just as Hong Chaosheng was pondering. The competition is over 3-1. When Hong Chao settled down, he became excited and jumped up from the sofa, saying, "We won, we won." The last sum of money, 3.32 million yuan received, Mr. Hong. A waitress walked up to Hong Chaosheng with a smile, holding a tray and a small check on top of it. "This is your check, totaling 3.32 million yuan. Please take a look." Hong Chaosheng nodded and picked up the check, carefully confirming the number, which was 3.32 million. "Not bad." Hong Chaosheng smiled and picked up the check casually. "Mr. Hong, in addition, we will upload your personal information. In the future, as long as you come to play, our commission will be reduced from 5% to 3%. The waitress remained polite and said, "If you have any needs, you can call us in advance and we will provide you with the most considerate service." "Okay, I got it." Hong Chaosheng looked at the check in his hand, bent his finger and flicked it, then smiled and said, "I need to rest." Subsequently, the two brothers returned directly to the presidential suite. In the past few days, their accommodation standards have been getting higher and higher. "Brother, do you think the casino will come directly to snatch our money after seeing us make so much money?" Hong Chaowen couldn't help but ask. "No way." Hong Chaosheng smiled and spoke lightly, "What do you think we make?" "The money from the casino." "No, it's the money from other gamblers. Whether we make or lose, the casino makes money." "Is that so?" Hong Chaowen scratched his head. Hong Chaosheng continued, "You see, the more people the Portuguese casino knows about this matter, the better. How many people want to get rich overnight? The more people come to admire us, the more money the casino will make. They will come to steal our money, which will tarnish their reputation. They still hope for a steady stream. Alright, take a day off today. Tomorrow, we'll go back to Xiangjiang to buy properties. With this money, we'll have our first bucket of gold." Feilu's novel, Fei Wants You to Look Good. Chapter 0006. Returning Home in Glory. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Hong Chaowen now feels like he's still dreaming. In this month's time, why did you just make over 800 yuan in a days? It's not 800 yuan, but over 8 million yuan. Did the Hongji textile factory have that much money before? This month's life is like heaven, with big fish and meat every day, which is also precious to Hong Chaowen. He is already a type of martial arts genius. Poor literature and rich martial arts. Practicing martial arts is not about practicing hard, but requires nutrition to keep up. During this month, Hong Chaowen's physical fitness has greatly improved, and his strength has also been greatly enhanced. The power of his punches and kicks is somewhat incredible. And Hong Chaosheng also reads newspapers every day, occasionally practicing with Hong Chaoen. Later on, I realized that my younger brother was a bit abnormal. His physical fitness was quite good, at least far superior to ordinary people. However, in front of my younger brother, he was like a child. Especially after eating a full meal and keeping up with the nutrition, this kid gives the impression of being tough and tough. Xiangjiang. When the brothers Hong Chaosheng and Hong Chaoen returned, they had already changed their outfits. The previous low-quality suit was thrown aside. At this moment, Hong Chaosheng no longer wears suits, but simply changed into casual clothes. Real wealthy people don't care what they wear. Steve Jobs and Zuckerberg's style remains unchanged for thousands of years, always wearing jeans and T-shirts. And in Hong Chaosheng's past life, he rarely wore suits, as long as he wore them comfortably. Unless it is a major occasion. Hong Chaoen, on the other hand, is still dressed in a suit, appearing refined and refined. However, in Zhang Mu's view, it is just 4 words. A suit thug. Having set foot on the land of Xiangjiang again, Hong Chaoen only felt that his mentality had changed. When he came last time, he was still confused and had illegally crossed over. In the end, he had no hope for his future and prospects. But now, it's different, the whole person's spirit and spirit have undergone earth-shattering changes. The feeling of returning home in glory. What will we do in the future? Hong Chaoen has decided to follow his brother, and if he asks himself to go east, he will definitely not go west. In just a short period of time, which was just 1 month, he had earned the wealth that he had never wanted in his lifetime. Hong Chaosheng's mood was quite good. When he arrived in Xiangjiang, he first hired a hotel to stay, and then planned to quickly buy a house. Having over 8 million yuan in savings on hand now may not necessarily mean that all of it needs to be invested in the stock market. Alternatively, you can rent a set first and find a servant. Next is to buy a car. Xiangjiang, this is a group of seaside villas with sea views. Hello, Mr. Hong. Sitting in front of Hong Chaosheng was a middle-aged man who looked slightly overweight. His surname was Zheng and his name was Zheng. In the morning Hong Chaosheng has specially visited this villa group and is generally satisfied with it. It is a newly built villa group and belongs to the newly developed category. If you want to buy such a villa, the price would be around 1.5 million yuan. As for the next few decades, there is no need to wait until 2022. In 2000 years, this price will skyrocket to over 100 million yuan. After all, every inch of land is worth every penny. Xiangjiang originally had a small living area, and even fewer sea view villas. Buy it, it must be a huge profit. The house has a large area and a large swimming pool in the yard, with its back facing the sea. The owner of the villa, Zheng, lost money in his business and was preparing to sell the villa to make up for the business failure. The overall villa architectural style is designed in a simple European style, which looks quite atmospheric. The main color tone of the whole house is white, and the simple ceiling is paired with some tube lights, making the space look more fresh and spacious. In addition, this luxurious mansion not only has a sea view, but also has mountains and forests, and the air is also excellent. The most important thing is that it hasn't been long since the decoration was completed, and Zheng hasn't moved in yet, so his business is losing money and he has to sell the villa. In fact, if possible, Hong Chaosheng would like to go to the Repulse Bay Villa. However, houses there are more expensive, and the cheapest ones start at 5 million yuan, which is not something Hong Chaosheng can afford. Mr. Zheng. Hong Chaosheng shook hands with Zheng, but a smile appeared on his face. Mr. Hong is really young and talented. Zheng said with a smile, how about it? My villa has just been renovated and I haven't had time to move in yet. Not bad. Hong Chaosheng smiled and said, Mr. Zheng, in the future, if there is a chance, we should still help our little brother more. This is natural. Zheng nodded, but he also understood that being able to produce millions of people in one breath these days was definitely not an ordinary person. The two exchanged a few words before signing the contract. The final price Hong Chaosheng received was 1.32 million, which happened to be spending his own pocket money. In addition, the chefs, servants, and Hong Chaosheng who were originally hired by Zheng Tongnian have basically been preserved, and in the future, their daily life will be taken care of by them. Originally, Hong Chaosheng wanted to force himself to buy the car directly from Zheng Tongnian, but Zheng Tongnian refused and instead left a phone number for the car dealership. After Zheng Tongnian left, Hong Chaosheng still couldn't believe that this villa already belonged to them. "Brother, is this ours now?" Hong Chaosheng flipped over a few somersaults with excitement on his face. "Yes." Hong Chaosheng nodded and said with a smile, "Stay here for now, and we'll come back to a new place in the future." Hong Chaosheng was stunned for a moment and said, "Do you still need to change?" "Exchange." Hong Chaosheng smiled and said, "We still have to go back to the mainland in the future. Money, this thing is definitely not a big problem." Hong Chaosheng nodded fiercely and said, "Brother, you say, next, whatever you want me to do, I will do it. Practice your martial arts well." Hong Chaosheng smiled and said, "As my father said, you are one in a million martial arts prodigies. It's a pity not to practice your martial arts well." Hong Chaosheng was taken aback for a moment, then nodded and said, "Okay, I'll practice my skills well." After thinking for a moment, Hong Chaosheng said again, "So, should we go find our uncle? He has also helped us a lot when we came to Xiangjiang." "Don't worry, let's wait until we buy the car first." Hong Chaosheng stretched his muscles and said with a smile, "It's not very convenient to travel here, it's better to have a car." Hong Chaosheng nodded and said, "Okay." Feilu's novel, Fei Wants You to Look Good. Chapter 0007. Mercedes W116. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Subsequently, Hong Chaosheng made a phone call to the car dealership. Mr. Zheng introduced it. "Actually, for the car dealership, I really don't know which Mr. Zheng it is. However, since Hong Chaosheng called, it indicates that the other party is still very wealthy, and his words are naturally very polite." After scheduling a time, he went to the car dealership to take a look. Mr. Hong. Seeing Hong Chaosheng, the salesperson at the car dealership was naturally very polite. There are still no 4S stores these days. Basically, the identity of people who buy cars in car dealerships can be said to be decent. Of course, it is not ruled out that some people who come here to fish in troubled waters and cannot afford a car still want to come in and take a look. After Hong Chaosheng arrived, the salesperson lady was very polite. Although Hong Chaosheng is currently wearing casual clothes and still looks very young, his whole body exudes a different aura. As he entered the dealership, Hong Chaosheng couldn't help but be slightly taken aback and said, "Oh, this is the Mercedes-Benz W116 S-Class." The salesperson on one side smiled politely and said, "Sir, you really have a good eye." The Mercedes-Benz W116 is also the first generation to be named after the S-Class. To be frank, the history of Mercedes-Benz's flagship luxury sedan has opened a new chapter. However, in Hong Chaosheng's view, cars from this era are still incomparable to those from later generations. However, in this era, it is a symbol of nobility. W116 demonstrates strength, authority, success, and even some awe-inspiring qualities. The spacious body size, double-layered front and rear bumpers, extensive chrome decoration, full-bodied appearance, cinema-sized headlights, straight waistline, dark-colored window glass, rear seat curtains. It can be said that a large number of cutting-edge high-end configurations have appeared on this generation of S-Class. In addition, there are safety protection cushions protruding inside the window frame. As the flagship model of Mercedes-Benz, the W116 appears extremely confident, with innovative double wishbone front suspension, zero offset rotation, and anti-dive devices, further improving the handling of the S.Class and improving comfort, including the first application of front and rear seat headrests. In addition, starting from this year, the W116 has become one of the world's first models to be equipped with an ABS anti-lock braking system, which is a milestone in the history of automotive development. Hong Chaosheng glanced a few times and nodded slightly. Not bad. How much is it? The salesperson's eyes lit up and he quickly spoke up. The total is 380,000 Hong Kong dollars. 380,000 Hong Kong dollars. Fortunately, it's not very expensive. Hong Chaosheng laughed. Now it seems that the price of this Mercedes-Benz is still reasonable. In later generations, it would start at 800,000 yuan. However, considering factors such as inflation, this car is definitely more expensive than the 800,000 yuan in the future. The salesperson's breathing began to quicken, and she knew very well that if Hong Chaosheng really bought this car, she would definitely get a lot of commission. Are there any discounts? Hong Chaosheng asked. Yes. 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 The salesperson nodded busily. There's a discount, sir. Do you really want to buy it? Hong Chaosheng nodded. The salesperson lady pulled Hong Chaosheng to the reception hall at the other end and generously poured him a cup of tea. Hong Chaosheng, on the other hand, sipped his tea slowly and said coldly, "By the way, I don't have a driver's license yet." The salesperson suddenly coughed and said, "Do you have a driver's license?" "Although I don't have a driver's license, I have money." Hong Chaosheng held a teacup and drank tea calmly. "Look, can you get me a driver's license? I will give you a benefit fee of 200 yuan. The salesperson pondered for a moment and said, "No problem, it's just that getting a driver's license also requires money." "I know." Hong Chaosheng smiled and said, "Look, do I look like I'm short of money?" Of course, said the salesperson quickly, "I'll handle it for you now. If we can handle everything today." Hong Chaosheng smiled and spoke slowly, "I will give you 1,000 yuan, hurry." "Yes. Yes. Yes." The salesperson nodded hastily. After the salesperson on the side left, Hong Chaosheng couldn't help but say, "Brother, you're buying a car and giving money. Our money is spending too quickly. Don't rush." Hong Chaosheng smiled and spoke slowly, "Why do you think I spend money quickly?" Hong Chaosheng was stunned when he heard Hong Chaosheng continue, "Buying a car is a symbol of status. In the future, whether we talk about business or do anything, others will look up to us. This is a social necessity. Besides, is it over 300,000 yuan? Not much." Hong Chaosheng couldn't help but say, "So, why did you give us money? Let her get us a driver's license. Do you know how valuable my day is?" Hong Chaosheng smiled and spoke slowly, "It's just 1,000 yuan. As long as we don't waste time, we can earn it soon." Hong Chaosheng didn't know what to say. Hong Chaosheng, on the other hand, smiled and said, "Don't you want to drive back quickly and let uncle have a good experience?" Hong Chaosheng's eyes lit up and he said, "Brother, whatever you say, I'll listen to you." Hong Chaosheng just smiled. In the afternoon, the salesperson Miss completed the task assigned by Hong Chaosheng with great enthusiasm, and Hong Chaosheng also handed the salesperson Miss 1,000 yuan happily. As Hong Chaosheng watched the salesperson thanking him with money, his mind moved and he asked, "What's your name?" "My surname is Chen, my name is Chen Meilin," said the salesperson politely. "Okay." Hong Chaosheng smiled and said, "See you later." Subsequently, the two brothers drove straight to their uncle's house. However, when driving this car, it really made Hong Chaosheng a bit uncomfortable. Firstly, the performance of this car was not as good as that of later generations. Another reason was that Xiangjiang's cab was on the right side. If the steering wheel is on the left, then make sure to drive on the right. If the steering wheel is on the right, then make sure to drive on the left. This is related to safety issues. If the steering wheel and driving direction are on the same side, overtaking and turning can affect the driver's line of sight, causing safety hazards. Hong Chaosheng was filled with anxiety, and Hong Chaoan was also sitting with anxiety. Brother, do you really know how to drive? Shut up. Hong Chaosheng was also sweating profusely and opening it cautiously. When the car stopped downstairs, the two brothers heard a series of noisy noises. Then, they heard their uncle's exclamation, "What are you doing? What are you doing?" 3 things to do when reading. Read, collect, and reward. Chapter 0008. 1 punch, 1 kick, Invincible. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. Hong Chaosheng and Hong Chaoan were slightly stunned. Then the two of them went straight upstairs. But it was discovered that this place had already been surrounded by several thugs. When Hong Chao settled down, he frowned. This group of thugs really knew each other. Hong Chaoan had a girlfriend in the factory before, but later found out that his girlfriend was entangled with a thug. Then, Hong Chaoan took action against these thugs. Later, Hong Chaosheng was stabbed in the lower abdomen, which was also the hand of this group of thugs. Unexpectedly, even though the two brothers had left, this group of thugs still found their uncle Chin Kelly. "If you're not leaving, we'll have to call the police." Aunt Wang Meijian was still angrily watching these thugs. I heard a thug at the head chuckling and saying, "All right, report to the police. You have the police come to judge. Your nephew has seduced me and come to trouble me. He injured several of our brothers. Report to the police." What can the police say? Sheng and An have already left. Even if you look for him, we can't find him. Uncle Chin Kelly frowned and said, "What are you doing here? Who made you his uncle?" The thug led by him chuckled and said, "All right, you give us 3,000 yuan, which can be considered as our brother's recuperation expenses. That's all for this matter. How about that?" Upon hearing this, Chin Kelly frowned and said, "Our family doesn't have so much money." Be Poor the chicken chuckled and said, "Then I won't be polite. I think your wife is quite beautiful. If you go to make a chicken, it will definitely be worth a lot of money." You. Wang Meijian's face turned pale with anger. "Want money, right?" At this moment, a voice came from a distance. Several thugs turned around at the same time and saw Hong Chaosheng and Hong Chaoan standing behind them. Then, they saw Hong Chaosheng smiling and taking out a stack of Hong Kong dollars from his pocket. 3,000 Hong Kong dollars, do you want it? The chicken turned around and suddenly chuckled, coming straight to the two of them. "I knew you two brothers were still there, where did you get the money?" Bang! As soon as his voice fell, Hong Chaoan on one side had already moved his feet. With a lift of his leg, an astonishing force erupted in an instant, and he kicked the guy who was calling the rooster. On the spot, the rooster flew out and spat out a mouthful of old blood. Several thugs saw the situation and simultaneously took out their weapons. Hong Chaosheng quickly took 2 or 3 steps back, quickly distanced himself, and had some confidence in his younger brother. Last time, he was just concerned and was stabbed by someone. Now, there's no need to be polite and let my younger brother take action. And Hong Chaoan is also not polite at all. Although he has been gambling with Hong Chaosheng for a month, he has not put in any effort and is still a big fish and meat every day. Nutrition can keep up, and Hong Chaoan's kung fu has improved a lot. 1 punch and 1 kick are enough to easily kill someone on the spot, but when he punched, Hong Chaoan still retained some strength. Although his punches seemed fierce, he also restrained his strength. If he really killed someone, it would be difficult to explain. Bang! 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 How can a few thugs be Hong Chaoan's opponents? One thug drew a machete and was kicked on the wrist by Hong Chaoan. He heard a click and the machete came out, twisting his entire hand in a strange posture. Another thug rushed up and was kicked in the knee by Hong Chaowen, then knelt down with a thud. Then, one thug turned around and headed straight for his aunt Wang Meizhen, but suddenly heard a wind coming from behind. When he came to his senses, he found that his neck had been caught and he was lifted away like a chicken. With a flick, the whole person rolled on the ground into a ball. Bang! 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 Hong Chaowen's attack was either a punch or a kick, unstoppable, and in the end, 7 or 8 thugs curled up on the ground, humming non-stop. Get lost! Hong Chaowen let out a cold snort. The chicken leader reluctantly stood up and stared at Hong Chaowen with an extremely resentful gaze. He gritted his teeth and said, Hong Chaowen, right. You wait for me, you think you can run away. I tell you, you can't run, your whole family can't run. Hong Chaowen lifted his leg, and the chicken cub trembled for a moment. He stopped talking and turned around with his little brother to leave. Chicken cub. Hong Chaosheng suddenly spoke on one side. Jizai turned around and saw Hong Chaosheng looking at him with a smile. It was you who stabbed me, right? The chicken was slightly stunned, and then Hong Chaosheng kicked him in the face. Then, the chicken rolled into a ball with his little brother and fell directly from the staircase. Clap your hands. Hong Chaosheng turned around and left. Jizai stood up and wanted to take action, but when he saw Hong Chaowen come to the staircase and give him a fierce glare, he trembled for a moment and didn't dare to say any more nonsense. He took his little brother and left directly. Uncle. Hong Chaosheng approached his uncle Qin Kelly, feeling somewhat guilty. I've caused trouble for you. Qin Kelly opened his mouth and said, Are you two brothers back? Didn't you go to the casino? We went to the casino, but... Hong Chaosheng smiled and said, Once we make money, we will come back. We still need to develop in Xiangjiang from now on. What else did Qin Kelly want to say? On the other hand, his younger cousin still looked worried, and Wang Meizhen kept comforting him. Alright, uncle, it's not very safe here. You can come with us. Hong Chaosheng smiled and slowly spoke up. Let's go, where are we going? Qin Kelly was stunned instead. Go to our house, we have a home in Xiangjiang. Hong Chaosheng smiled slightly and spoke slowly, let's go first. When we arrive at my house, we will talk in detail. Qin Kelly and Wang Meizhen exchanged a glance, and Wang Meizhen said, I'll go tidy up. Entering the door, Wang Meizhen took out a package containing the money that Qin Kelly and Wang Meizhen had saved through frugality over the years, totaling 20,000 yuan, with the intention of buying a house in Xiangjiang. Now, I'm also afraid that these thugs will come knocking on me again. What if I steal the money? If all these years of savings are gone, the thought of jumping off a building on the spot will come to mind. It wasn't until a family of 3 followed Hong Chaosheng into the car that Qin Kelly realized, Sheng, where did you get this car from? I bought it. Hong Chaosheng said with a smile. Did you buy it? Qin Kelly suddenly widened his eyes and said, where did you get the money? Feilu's novel, Fei wants you to look good.